Welcome into the Cowboys Report, Week 7 Overreaction Monday, because this team sucks, and that is not an overreaction. They are bad at football. And most troubling for me, I'm giving this one 4 stars. The Cowboys players, guys, they've quit. The heart, the effort, it's not out there. They don't care enough. And that's a huge problem for this team, and it's a huge problem for Mike McCarthy. This Cowboys football team has looked lost the past 2 games. And I know that the injuries are a huge problem there on the offensive side of the ball, but they've gone from a top 5 offense down to a bottom 5 offense. No one fought back after Andy Dalton got hurt, and this is the closest we've seen to McCarthy really calling out his players. He said, we speak all the time about playing for one another, protecting one another. It definitely was not the response you would expect. The offensive line all rushed to Dalton to check on him, but nobody went after Jon Bostic. There's no enforcer on this team, period. DeMarcus Lawrence calling out his team as well. We need more belief and more high spirits around this team, and really more fight. That's really, I feel like, one of our weaknesses. We need to build a stronger backbone to make sure we brought everything possible to come out with a victory. Clearly, that is not going on right now for the Cowboys, and Lawrence is overpaid, but at least he and Amari Cooper actually showed up in Week 7. Really, no one else did. The last 5 games, this Cowboys team has been embarrassed, blown out on Monday Night Football by the Arizona Cardinals. A bad Washington football team took it to Dallas 25-3. Now, the reality is, and we'll talk about this today, there's a lot of blame to go around. There's blame for the coaches, blame for the players. But it seems like as soon as Dak Prescott went down, this team, especially on offense, went, well, we're not good enough anymore. Dak was willing us into games that we had no business being a part of. Now we're screwed. And that's blame on both sides, because the players are professional adults. They should be able to show up and try. It's also on the coaching staff to get players to buy in. And so far, there hasn't been much of a buy-in, if at all, which is why I think we need to at least have the conversation about firing Mike McCarthy. This is not where I thought the Cowboys were going to be in 7 games in, but I'm giving this 2 stars. This is at least worthy of conversation, and I know the injuries are a big reason why I say, well, you know what? It was simply never meant to be. But a 2-5 start, McCarthy looks like he's already lost the team. And fair or not, that's a major problem. And it's especially troubling when you look at what McCarthy has done over his past 5 years as a head coach. 10-6, 2016, 2015, and then he's gone the wrong way. 7-9, 4-7-1, 2-5. This was a Cowboys team that, technically speaking, was the NFC East leader entering the game against a bad Washington team. And not only did they lose, they were never even really all that competitive. That's a major problem for the Dallas Cowboys. And as far as I'm concerned, it's not just on the coaching staff, but there's a culture problem in Dallas right now. The lack of effort, which the coaching staff still has yet to really call out, big-time problem. It probably stems from the very top down, which is the Joneses there. But the issue with the coaching staff, and it's really not fair at some level because the players should be adults too, but a good coaching staff does not lose a team 7 games in. That's not something that happens. As bad and iffy as the Jason Garrett era was at times, the players always fought for him. When it was a game like Washington, which really felt like a must-win game when the season was over, they almost always won. Wasn't always perfect. There were problems. The Cowboys were right to fire Garrett. But now I wonder if it's time to fire Mike McCarthy as well. This simply might have been a mistake. And that happens, but it's concerning. So get your votes in here. What do you want to do with Mike McCarthy? I will make this the pinned comment on today's video, by the way, because I'm very curious how you guys vote. Type K for keep or type F for fire. Now, regardless of which way you vote, I think it's pretty clear. Some changes need to happen. I think cutting a player or trading a player and making a coaching staff move. Let's do both because there's blame on both sides here. I'll start with firing Mike Nolan. I don't think it's all his fault. There's clearly talent issues on the defensive side of the ball, but I'm giving this 3 stars. Because when you have a historically trash defense, the worst defense I've seen in my days watching the NFL, you got some coaching problems too. The players are making the scheme look worse, and the scheme is making the players look worse. Maybe you just reset both of them. The Cowboys, to put this disaster in perspective, are the first team in NFL history to allow 20-plus points in the first half of 6 straight games. I mean, this is a disaster, guys. The defensive stats bear this out. You cannot be last in points per game, rushing yards per game, and takeaways. How does he even have 2 wins? This is a disaster. And I get that Mike Nolan's been trying new things, and it's not all his fault. But clearly the players don't buy in. There's a lack of confidence. And you know what? It's not like Nolan's making a bunch of great scheme and play calls anyway. So if you want Mike Nolan fired, I'm not going to stand in your way. It's not all his fault, but there are problems. So if you want Nolan gone, go ahead and type in your FN in the comments section. And if you're looking for some in-season replacements for Mr. Nolan, I got you guys covered. That video already available on the channel. The Mike Nolan replacements focused on in-season. We will do end of season as well. I promise you guys on that one with the way the season is going. So if you guys want that video and, of course, daily Cowboys videos, hit that big red button and subscribe. Now, we called out the coaches. Got to call out some players here, too. Jaylon Smith is one of the highest paid linebackers in the NFL, and he's not really playing like a starting caliber back. He was good against the Giants, bad against Washington and Arizona. 2 stars on this one. I don't know if you want to make him a full-fledged backup, but Jaylon Smith is playing every single snap. And that doesn't make a lot of sense to me because he's a liability right now. That's where we're at. Now, maybe he is a little bit of a scapegoat. I think maybe that's a bit fair for Jalen and the Cowboys, but he's bad in coverage. He's making too many mistakes. He might lead the NFL in tackles, which should tell you 2 things, because he does. Number 1, that's a bad defensive line up front. Number 2, it's a bad way to evaluate how good a football player is. A critical missed tackle. He was targeted 3 times in coverage, allowed 30 yards, had a touchdown on that missed tackle, by the way. Also, by the way, had a 19-yard pass interference penalty on the one play he wasn't burnt, but he didn't get his head around in time. There are problems right now with Jaylon Smith. So why not at least give Joe Thomas more than 2 snaps a game? Why not see what Francis Bernard can do? Why not give Luke Gifford a couple snaps here and there? You're going to get Sean Lee back. Maybe you play him more over Jaylon Smith. I wish this wasn't the case because I liked the contract at the time. I was wrong. It's been a huge problem for the Cowboys, and maybe Jalen is a bit of a scapegoat, but he hasn't played all that well. I think at least give the other young guys, Gifford, Bernard in particular, a couple of reps here and there just to see what they can do. Now, we do have a deal for you guys with our sportsbook partner, BetUS, available only for the rest of the month. Head over to chatsports.com/bet. Use the promo code on your screen. It's Cowboys125. And if you are a new BetUS customer, we'll get you guys hooked up with a Cowboys jersey of your choosing. Maybe CeeDee Lamb, because, the rest of the players aren't playing all that well. The Lamb was pretty rough as well against Washington. But email us, cowboys@chatsports.com. Once you've signed up, put down $100 and placed a bet, and we'll get you guys hooked up with a Cowboys jersey. That's chatsports.com/bet. The promo code Cowboys125. Please use both. It's a problem otherwise. And then email us, cowboys@chatsports.com. Have the Cowboys hit rock bottom? I don't know if they have, and that's really concerning to me. 2 stars on this one. Hypothetically, you go, wow, Tom, they scored 3 points against Washington. But if you're going to utter the phrase, of which I'm not actually saying, how could it get any worse? Guys, it can always get worse. I think we saw it somehow against Washington. You got embarrassed against Arizona in prime time on Monday Night Football. You forgot to show up against the Washington football team in Week 7. You lost 25-3, and the football team barely even tried to move the ball on offense in the second half. They just kind of like, yeah, sure, we'll hang out here. And you know what? You got prime time coming up again at Philadelphia in Week 8, then against Pittsburgh in Week 9. Guys, you might be 2-7 entering the bye against another tanking team in Minnesota on the road, but they're better than you. Somehow, as weird as this sounds, you're still a half game back in the NFC East. That's it, which doesn't make any sense to me, but don't be fooled by it. The way the Cowboys can be even worse here is if they trade for a player. Don't do it. Unless it's a young guy who's going to be around for 3 years, no. Don't buy at the deadline because you're bad. You have to be honest where this team is at. Injuries playing a big factor in that. Not a good football team. As worried as I am by this question, because we get some wild different votes here, predict the Cowboys' record for me. Are they going to win 2 games? Are they going to win at least one more, get to 3-13? They're going to win 4? Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. I want to talk about Randy Gregory now, and what I believe is a symptomatic flaw, or not symptomatic, a root flaw with this Cowboys coaching staff. They're playing worse players. Why is Randy Gregory not on the field more? We have eyeballs. Every single one of us can watch the games and go, why isn't Randy out there more? He played 6 snaps in his first game back with Dallas. Yet Dorance Armstrong played 26. The Cowboys have done this repeatedly, playing Terrence Steele over Brandon Knight, keeping Darian Thompson out there, playing Daryl Worley until they had to pull him at long last. They keep putting out worse football players, and it makes me question whether or not this coaching staff can actually evaluate properly. Dorance Armstrong should not be playing over Randy Gregory. He should not be playing over Bradley and I. You know what Dorance Armstrong has done this year? Hit the quarterback one time. He's coming off his best game all season. You know what his pressure rate is this year? 8.5%, 8.6 to be exact. For reference, DeMarcus Lawrence is about doubling that, and Randy Gregory, as inconsistent as he's been in his NFL career, is well over 11%. Dorance Armstrong is a jag. He is just a guy. I don't understand this coaching staff can justify putting him out there for 20 snaps a game. It was a blowout. If Gregory was still kind of building back up, well, put him out there, give him game reps. Doesn't make sense. This is why I'm in favor of firing Mike Nolan, because the coaching staff is not using players correctly, and that's a major problem going forward.